Hi, I'm Charles Purcell, and this is the log for Friday, August 21st. Oh my gosh, let's get right to it. The only story today, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Jokes at the Democratic National Convention's final night. Oh, again, we take full credit here at the log. We begged the DNC, come on, give us a little bit of humor, could ya? We asked for it. Oh, we got it. Here it is. I'm not going to make you wait for it. Here's the opening with Andrew Yang. Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Andrew Yang. Here they are.
And now I'd like to turn it over to a great Democrat who will be with us throughout the evening. Between the two of us, we have 11 Emmys. How's that for math? One of my favorite actresses, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Hey, Julia.
Hi, Andrew. I'm so glad to see you. So what did you think about Kamala Harris's speech last night?
It was tremendous. I was so happy for her.
I know, me too. She was fabulous. I cannot wait to see her debate our current Vice President, Mika Pince. Or is it Paints?
It's pronounced Ponce, I believe.
Oh, some kind of weird foreign name?
Yeah, not very American sounding.
Yeah, that's what people are saying. Strongly.
You guys, I'm here to tell you, that's funny. That is funny. I knew when it happened. I knew what the reaction was going to be immediately. The conservatives are going to just have a tantrum. I also knew that those who have to be in the middle of the road all the time, you know, the so-called objective press, they would be very skeptical about it. They would report on it with kind of a both-sidism like they do. Well, that's exactly what they did. I predicted that right also. Nobody that I've found so far heaping praises. I guess that's up to me. I'm going to heap praises. It's just funny. And I bow to no one. I concede to no one on my expertise, my aesthetic, my taste, my nerdism on comedy. I bow to no one. I'm here to tell you, Julia Louis-Dreyfus was hilarious. And you know what I'm going to do for you right now? Thank you very much to NowThis.com or NowThisNews.com, who put together a compilation of all of her best lines, so I didn't have to do it. So, with no further ado, here she is, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, host of the DNC last night, with all of her best lines, compiled by NowThisNews.com. Here it is.
Joe Biden goes to church so regularly that he doesn't even need tear gas and a bunch of federalized troops to help him get there. When Donald Trump spoke at his inauguration about American carnage, I assumed that was something he was against, not a campaign promise. Right now, you can text VOTE to 30330 to learn about all of your voting options and make the best plan for how to vote in your community, wherever you are. An easy way to remember 30330 is that's the year Donald Trump will finally release his tax returns. 30330. It's actually not that hard to remember. Watch. Person, woman, man, camera, TV, 30330. Anyone can do it. 30330. That would be the president's golf score if he didn't cheat. Okay, look, I'll admit that was a little nasty, but we all know he's a cheater. And I'm proud to be a nasty woman. These last few nights have been going so well, we've decided to add a fifth night where we will just play Michelle Obama's speech on a loop. Tonight, I couldn't be prouder to be a loyal union member, a passionate climate activist, and a patriotic Democrat. Or as Donald Trump will call me in a tweet tomorrow, a washed-up, horse-faced, no-talent has-been with low ratings. Well, with all due respect, sir, it takes one to know one. If we all vote, there is nothing Facebook, Fox News, and Vladimir Putin can do to stop us. Joe Biden shares John Lewis's belief that every vote matters. Personally, I plan to follow the example of 6 current cabinet members, Vice President Pence, and President Trump himself, and vote by mail.
I'm here to tell you, that was funny. There is no debate to be had. Oh, yeah, they gave us some comedy. We asked for it, we got it. So one more time here. DNC, day 4, final night. What did we see? What happened? Well, as we've heard now, Andrew Yang with Julia Louis-Dreyfus. That was preceded by Andrew Yang doing his bit. He had his 60, 90 seconds to say his thing. And kind of like with Elizabeth Warren and pretty much everybody who's spoken, any of the candidates, the primary candidates who have spoken, it's like they weren't allowed to be themselves. They had to do these very much obviously approved scripts that it didn't sound like they wrote themselves. Now, Andrew Yang was unique in the field, and I loved Andrew Yang for the fact that he seemed to be the only candidate, not only the only candidate, the only person in America who seemed to understand that, yes, there is a future in front of us. It's not just right now. There's a year from now and 5 years from now and 10 years from now, and there's technology and things are changing rapidly. And he still seems to be the only person in the world who actually understands that fact. And all of his policy proposals are shaped around that point of view, that the future is coming. So anyway, Andrew Yang, very disappointing in his little 60, 90-second talk. He had almost nothing to say. But then he introduces the host, and then that's the clip we played for you. So, all right, okay, let's see. Last night. All the regular stuff, people talking. I'm looking at my notes here. Nice little video about old people voting and the right to vote by mail. A lot about voting, how to do it and where to do it and why you should do it and here's where you can get help to do it. And the Secretaries of State of California and Michigan, I think it was, did a little presentation. It seemed like an after-school special or kind of a long public service announcement, or even better, kind of like a film strip. Are you old enough to remember film strips in school, like a middle school film strip, where you get information on hygiene or how elections work or something? That's what it felt like. It felt like a middle school film strip. They weren't, I don't know, I wouldn't say talking down to us, but they definitely had that paternal kind of a delivery, like they're talking to kids, or maybe like they're talking to really, really old people. Now, when you go to vote, and it's not a middle school film strip, if you're... I enjoyed that quite a lot. My senator, Tammy Baldwin, got a couple of minutes to talk about health care. But here's where progressives are never going to be happy. She kept using phrases like affordable health care. No, health care should be absolutely 100% free. Every little bit of it. It's a right. It's a human right. So, no, this is where progressives, our hair stands up a little bit. I think in a very short order here, in just a matter of a year or two, that phrase, affordable health care, is going to just sound so out of touch. It's like the way they used to talk about same-sex marriage. Yes, of course, gay people should have the same rights, but they shouldn't be able to get married. There are things that just sound tone deaf now, and the phrase affordable health care was going to sound really archaic and out of touch, hopefully in a very short order here. No, health care is a human right, and it should be free for everyone. That's just all there is to it. 88% of Democrats polled, 88% favor Medicare for all, and still the Democrats just refuse. I don't understand how they think that's still a losing issue. So that's disappointing. Yeah, affordable health care. That's a phrase that has to go away. Speaking of phrases, A couple times over the convention, they've used the big effing deal. Tammy Baldwin did use it. That's a big effing deal. And you remember the origin of that phrase comes from the passage of the Affordable Care Act when Obama gets up to the podium to take his little victory lap, make his little speech after it passed, and Joe comes up to him, gives him a little hug, gets way too close and kisses him on the ear like he does, and the mic catches him saying, "This is a big f***ing deal," right? And we all had a good laugh about it. But now in the convention, they've used that a couple times. So I think we've got a new catchphrase on our hands. I think you're going to hear big effing deal a lot, especially if he wins. If he wins, big effing deal is going to be a universally known catchphrase. Always associated with the 46th president of the United States. There are going to be headlines on the morning of November 4th. This is a big effing deal. America, we have a new catchphrase. Again, especially if he wins. It's the DNC for Lefties, day 4, running down last night's big shoe. Military family video with Dr. Jill, got to have that. Tammy Duckworth follows with more about military families and the role of commander-in-chief. All pretty good, nothing to complain about here. You know, lefties, progressives, we don't hate the military. We understand why they have to be there. I haven't found any military interventions that make any sense in the last several decades. But, our problem with the military is how they're used. They're used just like the cops are domestically. We talk about defund the cops. We've got to defund the military because they're used to uphold the status quo. They're used to defend property, not people. They're used as an imperial force. Yeah, the way the military is used, I got nothing good to say about that. The military themselves, the men and women who volunteer and serve, I got nothing bad to say about them. Nothing. And I'm absolutely 100% in favor of treating them well, paying them well, and it's an absolute no-brainer that they should be taken care of. While they're in the service, military families shouldn't be struggling to pay grocery bills. I mean, that's insane. And then afterwards, to find a job, to get appropriate health care, to deal with PTSD and whatever else you're dealing with, to deal with the physical and mental injuries that you may come home with. There should be no limit on the help, on the assistance. They deserved everything we can give them. So I am 100% on board with all of that. So anyway, there's my little military rant. You going to fight for military families and support them, Dr. Jill? Yep, great, fine. I'm good with that. Go for it. That was followed by a Beau Biden tribute, which it's kind of funny. I thought at first, that's just because Joe insisted on it, the family insisted on it. I didn't see it serving any purpose. It's like, well, okay, you're the boss. You want it, so here it is. But then later, as we get to Joe's actual address, I think his son, Beau, his particular life and bio, his relationship with Joe, there was a line at some point, I forget who said it. You've probably heard it before because Joe has said it a few times in the campaign about how everything he does, every day he gets up, and in every decision he makes, he wants Beau to be proud of him, which is not just a little tear-jerky mind game he's playing with us. It's a central fact of who he is. And over time, I got to understand that, yeah, all right, I understand why you're doing this. And I see why it's relevant. You're not just pushing our emotional buttons. You're not just manipulating us. You're not just gaslighting us. That's the cynical way of looking at it, which I entertained that notion for a while. I thought, that's all they're doing. But no, I think it's more than that. I think it really is a genuine way to know who we're going to be electing as president. And we should understand the guy we're electing, right? We should have some understanding of who the person is. Over the course of the campaign, and especially these last couple of days, and especially last night, I sort of came to accept that and understand it. Okay, as we go through the night here, let's see. We heard from Mayor Pete. He kind of used his identity as a gay man to be sort of the spokesperson for marriage equality. And I don't know. I guess there are a couple of different ways you can look at that. There was a bit of tokenism, I thought, in that I wasn't real comfortable with. But he handled it pretty well. And then he talked about a lot of different things. He was kind of all over the map. He didn't stick just to that one issue. He had a nice line. He had a really nice line. Mayor Pete, I don't know if he writes his own stuff or he's got people to do that for him, but he comes up with some good lines, and he had a good one. He said that this election is not a struggle between good Americans and bad Americans, but the struggle to call out what is good in all Americans. And I thought that was very good. And it's very Mayor Pete, very, very Mayor Pete. And I usually don't like centrists. And I don't like the idea of compromising with evil people. I think there are really evil ideologies out there. But with all that in mind, this is a good line. Because you can't, and I do it all the time, okay? Here's my advice. Do what I say, not what I do. I'm always using the word deplorables. Hillary Clinton was 100% right. There is a basket of deplorables out there. I don't know where she came up with basket. That's kind of weird. But there are absolutely deplorable people out there. She's right. But you're not going to win anybody's vote by calling them deplorable. And that strange little group, it seems hard to believe that they exist, but they do. They just do. Swing voters. It's hard to imagine that a swing voter actually exists in this day and age, but they do. If they're leaning a little bit the other way and you toss out the word deplorable, you're just going to push them right over. So I understand that. Do as I say, not as I do. And that's why this is a great line. No, we're not calling you bad. We're trying to appeal to the best of you. Not a struggle between good Americans and bad Americans. The struggle is to call out what is good in all Americans. Great line. Great line. Thank you, Mayor Pete. That's a Mayor Pete if I ever heard one. And then speaking of the primary candidates, they got together one more time. Well, they weren't all there. There was Booker, who moderated the little Zoom conversation they had. Mayor Pete, Amy Klobuchar, Beto O'Rourke, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and Andrew Yang. So that's fine. Those are the main people standing, really, as it got down to it. And they had a very nice little Zoom conversation. And I want to bring this one up particularly because it was especially effective because most of it seemed like a genuine conversation. Now, of course, it was heavily edited. I'm sure this just wasn't, the raw footage. And they did get into a little bit of speechifying. But it seemed like it really organically grew from a genuine conversation that these people were having with each other. They shared an experience together out on the campaign trail. They got together for all these debates. There's definitely has to be a brotherhood and a sisterhood among those folks. And so it was interesting to hear their conversation. And getting back to the style of the presentation, to present a conversation is very compelling broadcasting. It's the basic form of the podcast when podcasting just skyrocketed through the roof in popularity. Just a couple people sitting and having a conversation. It's a really wonderful form of communication. And they tapped into it. The DNC tapped into that with this little Zoom conversation between the primary candidates. And of course, it was a little bit directed, and you had to talk about Joe. What do you like about Joe, and things like that, of course. But it was also pretty genuine. All right. So all that's left to talk about Joe's big remarks. I will give you the bottom line from a lefty perspective. He's not what we want. He's not at all what we want, but he may well indeed be the perfect person to be in the role he's in right now. He's our Gerald Ford. He's just going to set things right. He's going to take the wheel. He's going to stop the bleeding. What other metaphors can I mix? Now, sure, it could have gone other ways. It could have been someone more progressive. It could have been Elizabeth Warren. It could have been Bernie Sanders. They could have beaten the Orange Menace. There are lots of different ways it could have gone. But honestly, at this point, that's just wasting your breath. It's just making you crazy. There's no point in even talking about it anymore. This is your guy now. That's all there is to it. And what he had to show us last night is that he could handle a major address. He could look into a camera and be convincing. And he did that. He absolutely did that. I was kind of worried. He started out kind of slow. I'll tell you, he started out kind of slow, and I was a little worried. You know, his focus, did you notice that the teleprompter... Okay, here's what it looked like to me. You know, sometimes when you look in your own phone camera, and the actual lens itself is up in the corner. It may be up in the upper left-hand corner. And you're looking directly into the screen, so you're not looking directly at the lens itself. So your focus is just a little bit off. And I think that was happening last night. Because as I'm watching him, as we start, he looks like he's not quite looking at me right in the eye. He's looking just a 1 or 2 degrees down and 1 or 2 degrees to the right. And I thought, oh my God, this can't be. I thought, this is a disaster. He's not looking at me. But then I thought, okay, is this an optical illusion? I'm kind of trying to stare into Joe's eyes. I'm trying to make eye contact with him. And as it progressed, that became less of a problem for me. I don't know why exactly. I don't know if he refocused, if I refocused, but I was really, really worried at the very beginning. I thought, oh, shit, it's over. Everything's over. He's not looking me in the eye. But that, I don't know, that somehow magically kind of went away. Like COVID is going to magically go away someday. All right. So anyway, he gets into it. It's not bad. It's not great, but he seems to be picking up steam as it's going along. Gave us some policy that I loved. I love it when they toss in some wonky stuff. Did a little day one talk. I love that. On day one. And one of the things he's going to do on day one is a national mandate to wear masks. Oh, what a gutsy thing to say. Half the country's just going to hate that. But it's the right thing to do. He talked directly to those who've lost loved ones to COVID. And it was very powerful. And there it was. That's the moment when it finally all clicked for me. I was kind of slow. I really was. I was slow coming to this. But it's like, that's when it clicked for me. The wife and the daughter killed in the car accident. Losing Bo. I'm getting emotional right now. Thinking about it. Talking about it. Because that's when Joe just kicked it into high gear. And he looked right in the camera. I'm getting emotional right now as I speak about it. You could see it in his eyes. You could hear it in his voice. The absolute connection. The absolute connection that he was making. In that moment, it was powerful. It was absolutely powerful. And he talked about coming out of that and about finding a purpose. And I thought for a second about my man Bernie and how he's been saying lately that he'll work with moderates. He'll work with conservatives. Bernie's been saying lately progressives, moderates, conservatives. Everybody deserves a place at the table. And I agree with that. As a progressive, I agree with that. And I thought about Bernie in that moment because this moment that Joe is having and this fatherly advice about finding purpose after tragedy. How do you label that progressive, moderate, or conservative? You don't. You're a monster if you do that. Get out of here. I don't want to hear from you if you're so cynical and so jaded that you can watch that moment and try to label it or brand it as political theater. It's not. And that's where Joe just absolutely had me. I'm still a progressive. I'm still a lefty. I still can rail about all of my issues. But if you don't believe that was genuine, you need to give some serious thought. about your own humanity. Seriously. And yes, he still said things I disagreed with. Talked about how student debt shouldn't crush the borrower. No, student debt should be forgiven. Climate change is an opportunity to create jobs. Yeah, but really the wrong way of thinking about it. Talking about the tax structure as a way to fight climate change. Democrats love to use taxes all the time as a way to legislate. It's also ridiculous. You can't legislate through the tax code, and that's the only way they want to do it. And he's using all this old-fashioned language, restore the promise of America. But even though I've got this progressive conservative divide with Joe, at this point it doesn't matter. Call me gullible. I don't care anymore. These things don't matter in this moment. At about the 16-minute mark, I found myself just absolutely leaning in. I gave him my full 100% undivided attention. He had me locked in. Because he had that X factor going that I did not know he had. I know some of you are saying right now, oh my God, he fell for it. They got him. Charles Purcell has been hypnotized. He's been gaslighted. He's gone. It's like that Community episode when the choir director gets everybody to join the Glee Club. I don't think so. It was at that 16-minute mark when he talked about the neo-Nazis marching in Charlottesville and the Orange Menace calling them very fine people. He said that was the moment that he knew he had to run. Yep, he brought it home. Man, he went way over expectations. My expectations for last night were hold it together, show us that you have it. Show us that you're capable of really delivering a great speech, of moving us, of being honest and truthful and forceful and, be a president. And he went so far beyond what I hoped for. What I've said all along is he's not the guy we want policy-wise. We're going to disagree with him on almost everything, progressives. He's not going to go far enough. He's going to stick with this sort of corporate capitalist solution for everything. He's going to be way too moderate and even conservative. All of that is still true. So what I'm sticking with here is, if you vote for the guy, the next morning, you raise your flag in opposition to him. You push and push and push and push for your issues. None of that has changed. What has changed is my confidence in him to be the right person in this moment. So it was a hell of a night. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus was funny as hell. You know what? I've been putting all of this week's shows on the platforms. Monday and Friday usually go out to all the platforms. And the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday shows, you have to go to charlespurcell.com or to riverwestradio.com. So anyway, just a little note, all of this week's shows, Monday through Friday, went to all the platforms. It's a special week. So there's that. All right, so that's it. Thanks to the aforementioned River West Radio, our terrestrial flagship station. Thanks to Peter Donalds, composer and performer of our theme music. I'm Charles Purcell. I love you. See ya.